Okay, Bryan Burk.
Questions.
Questions. How old are you?
I'm 37.
37. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Dallas. I was born in Houston, but I grew up in Dallas.
Did you go to high school there and stuff like that?
Mm-hmm. So after high school, I left Texas. I moved to San Francisco, actually, for 2 years. And then I lived in Vermont for 2 years. Then I lived in New York City for like 4 years. And then I've now been in LA for like 11 years.
What was your first like tattoo experience? The first time you experienced a tattooed person or something like that?
I don't know, dude. Like, I don't have that like story that, like, oh,
Not
my
a pivotal
uncle,
moment.
like my uncle came over and he took his shirt off and had a chest eagle. Like, no one in my family ever had tattoos. Like, I wasn't around tattooed people when I grew up. Like everybody in high school, I remember, like, in Dallas, kids could get tattooed with like a note from their parents. So all these kids I knew started getting tattooed, but they were getting all this like dumb stuff that like I didn't want at all. So that was probably my first experience with tattoos. Thinking like it's cool to get these tattoos, but everybody's getting like this kind of stupid stuff.
Right. Tribal armbands, and I guess you're too old for tribal armbands to be bad news. How did you start tattooing?
I mean, I started by like I got my first tattoo, and then I got someone that was working with my roommate at the time had like a starter kit that I bought, and that guy like had tried it and didn't like it, and so I bought the starter kit from some dude my roommate
Awesome.
worked with. That was like Kaplan stuff. Do you know that stuff? Like like aluminum.
I have a Kaplan machine I use on a regular basis.
Really?
Yep.
Actually use
I
it?
swear to God. People think I'm crazy, but yeah.
And I tried to tattoo myself. I mean, I did tattoo myself. In my kitchen like this with like another one of my friends that was like laughing at me, and I was like, "This sucks." Like, I mean, I just, I think the dude to give me like hugs and books. And I think I read that, but I didn't understand any of it.
Right.
Like,
of course.
and yeah, about like 10 minutes into it, I was like, I had this idea that I was gonna like do it on myself a little bit, and then I could start doing it on like other people and friends and stuff like that. And after a year, I'd like have it all figured out or whatever. About like 10 minutes into it, I was like, "There's no way I'm gonna figure this out without like bugging out a lot of people." Like,
Right.
I was like, I needed someone to show me how to do this, and I'm gonna learn how to do this in like a timely fashion.
And so did you end up getting an apprenticeship somewhere, or?
Sorry, my throat got kind of sore. What happened was like I was like buying books and like started kind of like getting tattooed by like better and better people, and I was in New York and I bought most of Ed's books, and like then I kind of found out like out of the tattooers that I really liked like Ed and Malone and Bob and Horiyoshi. Out of all those people, I liked Bob's stuff the best. And Skin and Ink had just done like a big thing on it with like all these pictures, paintings and stuff. Like, this was right after they legalized tattooing in New York, so he was coming. They were making the first convention, so he came to the first convention. And I had just been like painting all this flash at home. I'd kind of taught myself how to watercolor, and it was just kind of like trying to draw all the hard stuff that everybody tries to draw too early, like hanios and stakes and all this stuff. Like,
Right.
But I had all this flash, and I went to the convention, and I got this tattoo from him at the convention, and then I sent him like all this flash, this letter, and all this stuff. I was like, I want to move to Los Angeles and like learn how to tattoo with you and Charlie, and like, but I didn't know him at all or anything like that. And so like finally he called me back, and he was like, all this stuff looks really cool, but like I don't teach people how to tattoo anymore. Like it's out. Like I'm not gonna do it, But I went to LA anyway, and I got a lot more tattoos. Like I got this tattoo on Friday. I got that one on the Saturday the next day.
That's awesome.
And then he was like, if you're gonna move to LA, like I'll help you. And like when I was out there getting those tattoos, like he showed me how to make needles, a couple other things. I mean, even though I still had no experience besides trying to tattoo myself. Like I'd stopped, and I would just be like painting and drawing. He's like, if you're gonna move all the way out here, like I'll help you. You know, I'm not gonna teach you, but like we can get you some stuff, and we'll get you a job working with like Gil or something like that. You know. So I did it. I just moved to LA, and basically just started hanging out at the shop like all the time, and like I went in and like I just showed up one day and I was like, well, I don't have anything. I don't have any machines. I don't like have any because I could tell that Kaplan stuff was kind of junky, you know. And he helped me get like some National Jonesies, like the cheap ones, like the $90 ones.
Right.
But I mean, it was just, you know, kind of like we were saying earlier. Like back then, like I was just dumb enough to think that was okay. To be like, hey, like you're the best. Like, why don't you're gonna teach me how to tattoo? You know what I mean? Like I'm gonna get you to do it. Like, and like, well, like get out your catalog and help me buy some machines, dude. Like, and he did it. You know.
That is insane.
But yeah, like
that happened. Yeah.
Like the first day I showed up in LA and went in there, I was like, he's like, give me stuff, and I was like, no. And I was like, he's like, have you done any tattoos? I was like, I've done this one tattoo. And he got all mad, started yelling. He's like, you've done fucking one tattoo, like blah blah blah. So but anyway, like I got machines, and like I would call him and be like, are you tattooing someone today? Like, can I come watch? You know, like, and I would like watch him do tattoos, and then eventually like that dude, Flip. He was working there, and he got in this bad car wreck. And I kind of like showed up on the day he said that he was quitting because of like he was moving back to Santa Cruz because of a car wreck or whatever. And Bob's like a real like stickler about like someone being there to like open the door and stuff. So he was like, well, this dude just quit, and I need someone. Like, you want to start or what? Like, you know. And I was like, okay, like yeah, totally. And so that's kind of how it like,
luck and chance.
Yeah, officially kind of happened. You know, I mean, I kind of hung out there a lot and kind of like stuck with it, but. Then yeah, it was like, you know, whatever. But pretty much like I learned to tattoo from everybody, you know. Like I'd say, kind of like when I said about like reading Huck's book, like it being saying things I can't understand. Like when Bob would tell me things, I couldn't really understand them. You know, like you gotta, you know, I remember he got really mad at me, yelled at me. He was like, you can't draw the line, you gotta make the line. Get it? Like I didn't get it at all. It's like, you know, but Ray actually is the one that like kind of explained a lot of that stuff to me. Like
had the dialogue to teach you how to do it, right?
Because he was there like all the time, and I would hang out like all the time, like from noon to midnight, like every day I was there just like, hanging out, drawing and shit. And he loves to talk, and he was always there tattooing people. So he would just let me watch, and he would just explain, you know, about like listening to it and the puddle of ink and like all the, you know.
Right, the science of it.
Yeah.
Right. To have the voice of somebody that could actually explain it to you in a way that a teacher would explain it to you.
Yeah, like Bob would yell at me, and the like, look, this is what he means, you know.
Right, right. No, that's awesome. What were your main influences besides Bob? Who and what like were your main influences when you started and currently?
I think like before, like, because when my friends started getting tattooed like in the early '90s. And it was all like tribal, like Eddie Deutsch, like all that kind of stuff. And that stuff didn't, at the time, wasn't really doing it for me. Now I kind of like all that stuff. But like, you know, like the first time I ever saw somebody get a tattoo, a friend of mine got like an American Indian, like a Haida thing. From like Aaron Kane, actually. So, but then, so like the first, as I was kind of started to pay attention, the first stuff that really stuck out to me, I was like, oh, that's like a tattoo. It was like Dan Higgs stuff.
Right.
So when I first started drawing, so I was kind of drawing this like Dan Higgs stuff, and like I liked, you know, Horiyoshi stuff, and like Ed, and Malone, and at the time, and like some of Phillips stuff, but like that, those kind of like the usual suspects kind of, you know. And I think that it was a long time before I was really ready to like ingest or like open up to other stuff, and especially like working under Bob, like he'd be like, you know, just do it this way, like you have to do it this way, like the same way every time, like not necessarily the same way every time, but like if I would try, he was like really strict about the way stuff should look. And so I think for years, like I just did it that way, you know, and then finally like working with Juan and Marco actually, like really opened me up to like a lot of other stuff in terms of like looking at, you know, other artists, you know, the way people do stuff.
Different technique.
Yeah, and like that's when I really started painting. Like, and I really like like Tim's, all the Tattoo City stuff, you know, like around like the year 2000, 2003, like, you know, all that stuff I was really into, like Tim and Chris Kahn, like Colin Stevens, and like Grimy, you know. But now, you know, I'm pretty influenced by like the stuff you guys do here. Actually, I think that's like my big influence, like you and Tim and Jeff. But when I sit down to do a tattoo, it just kind of depends on like the person and like what kind of person they are. And so I might think, well, like how would like Garver do this, or how would like Philip do this, or how would like, you know.
Right.
It's kind of like, you know, I always think of like in terms of like quality and like trying to do your best on a tattoo. Like I feel like I was influenced by like Chris Garver and like Philip Liu and those people that you can tell like every time really trying to put their best foot forward.
For sure.
I mean?
Definitely,
like,
definitely.
But stylistically, I feel more influenced by like kind of San Francisco stuff. Like if I was gonna say like I want my tattooing to look like something, it would be more like that.
Okay. How did you end up getting to Japan? Like you have a sort of a root in Japan. There's a bit of you have a huge Horiyoshi tattoo. Not many people do. I mean, now there a lot of people do, but like at the time when you're going, not a lot of white people were going there. Not a lot of Westerners were there.
Right.
And you got there. How did that happen? How did Japan happen, and how's that sort of been a role in your life?
The first time I ever went there, my mom's sister was living there on a military base. So in high school, I went when I was like 16 for like doing like 10 days or something like that. And my cousins were there, and my aunt was there, so I just went and bought like robots, video games and shit like that. But then when I started working with Bob in 2001, he had sort of let these guys that he taught how to tattoo in Japan open a shop called Spotlight Tattoo.
Right.
So when I started, we had this kind of like sister shop. So he took me there like way too early on to be going and tattooing in another country. You know what I mean? Like I was still pretty bad. You know, I mean, maybe I, you know, whatever, I could do a tattoo, but like looking back, I kind of wish that there weren't people in Japan running around with this horrible tattoo that I did. But yeah, so like the first couple times I went and I worked at Spotlight Tattoo in Japan. Then that whole thing kind of fell apart. And then some of those people opened up another shop that I worked at for a while. And then, so I just kind of kept going back, like a lot, you know, and working in different places, and I went to different spots in the country. And then actually the whole Horiyoshi thing basically just happened because of like the birthday party and Juan and Taki. You know, I kind of called Taki and was like, I want to get this tattoo, you know, can you give me appointments? And he got me like all these appointments. And, you know,
Awesome.
so that was cool. But yeah, but I love it there. Now I just like to go and hang out. Like, I don't really like going there and tattooing so much anymore. I mean, it's okay, but I kind of lost, like, it's stuff there, like, the politically between groups of people changes, like, really fast there. And, like, I kind of lost, like, I mean, not lost, but I don't really want to, like, go there and be working and be involved with all that shit anymore.
Right.
So I just kind of like to go and, like, go to temple and buy books and stuff.
Right. Now you have your own shop now. And it's Dark Horse, right?
Mm-hmm.
How long ago did you open that?
We did the first tattoo the day after Valentine's Day.
Oh, perfect. Juan did the first tattoo in the shop. Perfect.
Yeah. Because I was on a Valentine's Day trip with my girlfriend. And I kind of showed up, like, I think in the middle of his second tattoo.
Oh, okay. And how did that come about? How did you get to the shop? And
well, I kind of got to a point where I knew I didn't want to be at Bob's shop anymore. Just because I was ready to kind of like move on and do my own thing and grow in a new way. And like, I really wanted to come work in San Francisco, but basically just kind of life and love stuff happened that, you know, sort of prevented that from happening. But I still was like ready to move on, and so there, you know, I kind of looked at the picture of the big tattoo shops in LA, and it sort of seemed like a lot of the other shops were shops where like Spotlight, it's a bunch of kind of younger or like middle-aged guys kind of rallying around another guy, you know, like Mahoney's shop or Clay's shop. And not that those guys that work there aren't great in their own right, but it's sort of like there's a boss and all the dudes that work for the boss. And I kind of had been doing that for a long time, and I was kind of ready to try something else, but there wasn't a shop like that in LA, you know. And the closest shop that seemed appealing for a place to work at was Gold Rush, but that was still like pretty far away. And so I thought, well, I'm just going to work at like a private studio, you know. I'm just going to get an apartment and tattoo out of an apartment for a while and kind of see what shakes out in the next few years of my life in terms of moving to a different city or so I found a space, and I ended up like telling the guys at Spotlight that's what I was going to do. But it didn't go over so well, so in the end I was kind of told, like, if you're going to go, go. You know, like, that's it, like, go. Sort of like you know, that got a little unruly. So in the end, like, I found a space that was next to another tattoo shop, the street shop. But I loved the space, you know what I mean? So it's like, well, this is perfect. Like, having the shop next to these other guys is going to make sure that I keep it kind of like private under wraps. Like, this is kind of good, you know? Like, and I'll just introduce myself to these guys and be like, look, I've been tattooing in this apartment down the street. But I loved the spot so much, so I got it. And then like a week after I got there and started working on it, those guys they left. You know,
The shop just closed up.
yeah.
Perfect.
So the guys at the old shop kind of told me like piss off, and then these guys left. So I was like, all right, well, I guess now there's no real reason not to just make it official and put a sign out.
Make a real tattoo shop,
Yeah,
not a private studio.
yeah,
Now, is it a walk-in shop or is it?
yeah. We do. We gladly accept walk-ins. Yeah, so I mean, mostly I work by appointment, and it's still kind of like coming together. I mean, we don't have like a big sign yet, and we're set back a little from the street, so it's not super obvious that we're there right now. So we don't have a lot of walk-ins, but yeah, we take walk-ins and appointments, like whatever people want to do.
And how many people work in the shop?
It's myself and Adam Warmerdam, so there's two of us right now.
Awesome,
Yeah, and but then, you know, it's been cool because like Juan has come and done some tattoos with us, and Uzi or Miguel Montgomery, he comes and works, who I love, and so it's awesome. Like, you know, I feel like those guys, even though it just opened, like they've both already been like 2 or 3 times, so it's already kind of like, you know, Adam and I, but then we have like a little extended family of guys that like I really like, you know what I mean? They're not just like friends that kind of like do an okay tattoo, so I come and let them do it there. Like both those, I'm really stoked at both those guys.
Right, good tattoos and getting the outside influence and stuff like that.
Yeah, and you know, and good tattoos that I like. You know what I mean? Like I feel like now that I own my own shop, like, you know, there are probably people that I could get in there that would like help me make a little more money or whatever, and be busy, and like the tattoos are okay. But like I would rather really focus on people that like, do you want this guy? Like, yes. I love it. That's kind of like
to have the energy of the person.
Yeah, and the work, you know what I mean. To be able to say like, I love it that like these tattoos are coming out of you. Like, I'm stoked, and I feel that way about Adam. So
yeah, Adam's an awesome tattooer.
Yeah. So yeah.
Are you going to be doing any guest spots anywhere or working anywhere, like so people can try to get a hold of you outside of LA or?
Yeah, I mean, I like to come work here at Blackheart, like, you know, a couple times a year. I spent like a month here last summer, and since then, just with, you know, my shop opening, it's been like kind of busy, and just, it's been like kind of a crazy year. But I'd like to come back up here regularly, and I'm pretty sure that in the spring I'm going to go work for Henny.
Oh, awesome.
We're supposed to work it all out and talk about it in San Jose. But yeah, he's invited me to do that, and I want to do it, so. And I might also go to Stockholm on the same trip, because I've heard that's cool.
It's an amazing convention. It's a great convention.
I mean, not to the convention, but just to a shop to work.
Stockholm's great. It's an awesome place. So do you travel a lot? I mean, is traveling been a big thing in your life, or? Kind
of. I mean, it used to be. I mean, yeah, I like to travel a lot. And I've also gone and worked in family business, which I want to do again. So yeah, I like traveling. It's been a little tough because I have a kid that lives in a different city than I do. So when I travel, I try to see him every month, and so that kind of puts a damper on like the funds, like the ability to just pick up and go somewhere for a long
And just
time.
the spare time.
Yeah, and then having a shop too.
Right.
I have a lot more bills now, so I love to travel, but I kind of have to limit it to places where I know I can go and sit down and make money. Like I can't really be like, oh, I'm going to go to the London convention and like hope it goes well, because I'm not the guy that's good at like promoting myself that way. I don't get on like MySpace every day and say, hey everybody, I've come in, like appointments are available. Like,
which is now getting a sketchy thing when traveling, doing that, especially out of the country.
Because of all the, like,
people
rules.
like when you're going to work and customs, other places sending people back. Like England is notorious for it.
People get sent back this year?
I guess a bunch of people just got sent back, yeah.
Wow.
There was the Australian girl that was moving there to work, moving from Australia to London, and she got bounced maybe a year ago or whatever. They just looked it up on the internet and said she was working at Frith Street, and they were like, laters, and packed her ass back up and sent her back to Australia.
Wow.
And then I guess a bunch of people just got sent back when they went for the London convention. So I think the traveling and tattooing is going to be maybe an interesting way of how it's going to go. You know what I mean? Because you can't. I think that promoting yourself. At least that's how England's doing it. I don't know the rest of Europe. I don't know. But I think that's how England's doing it. So I think it's going to be kind of interesting to see how that will pan out, like in the next couple of years.
Is that how they're catching them, by like seeing what they're posting on the internet? It's not because they want to share with them.
Exactly. I think little Dave just got sent back from England.
Really?
I think off of Facebook.
Wow.
I think that's what somebody told me. I don't know if that's accurate or not, but I think it's pretty interesting that the entire world, the global world, is catching on to tattooing.
Yeah. I wonder if it's too that they have like a bunch of like that they see all the tattoos in the hands and faces, and they know like, okay, London Tattoo Convention is this weekend. Like, watch out for super tattooed dudes coming through, and then like when they get here, punch their name into Facebook.
Well, the ironic part of that too is that when I went to London last time, I went to London was I went in and they were like, "What are you doing here?" I was like, "Oh, I'm just coming to hang out." I never say I'm working, and I've never said I was working anywhere. Even when I was traveling with tattoo equipment, I just tell people like, "Oh, I'm just tattooing my friends when I'm there." And the lady, the customs agent next to the one I'm dealing with, is like, "Oh, that's that big convention this weekend. Just it's fine, whatever." And they just let me in. Whereas that is now biting everyone in the ass, which it leads me to this next question of how like the promotion, the scandalous self-promotion of tattooing in the public eye has affected tattooing. Like, what's your take on that? On like the TV shows, the whatever, because you can't go anywhere and be like, do you know Kat Von D? Or whatever the fucking annoying ass question is now, and how that has righteously affected tattooing. I mean, it really has changed tattooing.
I mean, to me, sort of like the part about it that I don't like is that I feel like it used to be, if you wanted to know what it was like, if you wanted to experience what it was like to be around tattoos or people getting tattoos, like, you had to man up and like go to a tattoo shop. Like, even if you weren't going to get tattooed, you had to go in there and deal with like the skulls in the wall and the sound of that machine and the smell and the dudes like looking at you funny, and like, the second time I ever saw somebody get a tattoo was straight up in the back of like a motorcycle shop on the East Coast. And some crazy tweaked out biker dude, like, that was like doing tattoos out the back of his, Harley repair shop. Was tattooed my fucked up tribal on my friend. And that was what you had to do. If you wanted to get in touch with that and get a tattoo,
Right.
You had to like go do it. And like, I think that now that whole thing is gone, and like, you can watch it on TV, you can watch it on YouTube, you can buy like so many different magazines that make it kind of cute and appealing, with like pretty girl models and their tattoos, and like all these celebrities. Like, that wall has kind of come down, and on one hand that's good for business, but on the other hand it's like, now we've got people to come in and like, they're tapping out like 5 minutes into the tattoo. Right. And they want it upside down and backwards, and it's just like, oh, it hurts, it complains, or like, you get kids playing video games on their cell phones while they're getting a tattoo. Like, I would have never thought that any of that shit was okay.
Right.
I would have never thought it was okay to say it hurts.
Right.
Of course it fucking hurts. You heard your whole life, the tattoos fucking hurt. So you don't go in there and get a tattoo and complain about how it hurts.
Right.
You know?
Of course.
Did you know that?
Yeah,
Like, this shit hurts.
Fuck yeah, dude. Fuck yeah.
You know? And it's just like, you know, and it's like, think that, like, we're only have to put up with that stuff as much as, like, we let them. You know what I mean? Like, people come in and, you know, they want it a certain way or they want to behave a certain way because we let them, you know? Like,
right.
You don't have to cater that stuff. You know, like, I had a real nice girl call me the other day and she's like, I'm getting my first tattoo and I want to get this thing written on my wrist and blah, blah. And I was like, look, I just want to tell you something, like, this isn't a personal thing. This is just me. This is how I am. I'm not going to write it on you upside down. Like, if you're thinking of getting it so that, like, you can read it, like, I'm not going to do that. I don't do it anymore. Last time I did it on somebody, they were bummed out. I was bummed out. And there's just no reason for me to do it. And I've got a guy that works for me. He might do it for you that way, but I just want to let you know, I don't want to do that anymore. That wasn't the way I was taught. You know?
Right.
And, like, she didn't come get her tattoo. And, I mean, you know, maybe someone else did it on her, maybe she just decided not to get it, whatever. But I just kind of think that, like, what makes me sad is that, like, it's, like, with the TV shows and all that stuff, like, part of the magic is dead now. You know, like,
right.
That there's power in that intimidation.
Right, of course.
You know? Like, I grew up loving, like, skulls and all that stuff, but when I went to get my first tattoo, and I walked in there, it was, you know, it's kind of scary still, you know, even though I like all this shit.
Sure, yeah.
You know, and I think that there's magic in that, and that's what protects, you know, there's a reason for it, you know. It's like that magic protects us and keeps all the bullshit out. And it's one of the reasons that we're still pretty much, you know, I'll say this because it's like your website, which is kind of small, but it's like, you know, we're pretty much left to our own devices. You know, I think that it's still not too late for the tattoo artist to remain and control the tattoo industry.
Right.
If we start changing the way we think about stuff now.
Hence this website.
Yeah, you know, I mean, I once told Tim, I was like, I want to make like a little booklet that tells everybody how to get all the stuff they need to do tattoos without going to a supply company.
Right.
You know, or that's like Danny's supply company.
Right.
Like, that's a great idea. Like, you should sell it. You know, and I was like, well, then I'm just one of the other dudes. Like,
then
you
you're
know,
a supply company, right? Yeah.
Yeah, not a supply company, but just like, you know, it's not the point is to make money. The point is for us to keep the money
right
in here amongst ourselves. It's kind of like Flash. Like, now that I opened up my own shop, I was thinking the other day about like painting Flash and how I really want to paint a lot of the Flashes up in my shop. I want it to be just my Flash. And I was like, yeah, like back in the day, like, if you opened a tattoo shop in like the 40s or 50s or 60s, you had to paint Flash.
Yeah, you had to fill the wall.
Yeah, because you couldn't buy it.
Right.
You know, or maybe you could, but, you know, from like Zeiss or something lame, but like, basically, you open a tattoo shop, you had to paint Flash. It's part of the fucking deal. And it's like, you know, because what would you say? You know, the guy comes in and says, oh, I want like the parachute with the wings. Okay, I know what that looks like. You know, like, you had to have something to show them.
Right.
You know? And now it's like, people don't have to do that anymore, you know? And it's like, it's sad that like that aspect of it's lost, you know? But it's part of the deal that you should know how to do, you know? Like,
right.
I can't, I mean, I could, but I don't know how to actually like build a machine. But like, you know, back in the day, like, you had to know all that shit, you know? I mean, I'm just as guilty as anybody else, you know? But I think that like, it's definitely worthwhile to think about that, to think about like, you know, like I don't like using disposable tubes. Because it's just more money for the supply companies, it's more waste in the fucking landfill. I'm not that lazy, you know what I mean? Like, I can carry my tubes around.
Right. Or scrub them in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And
yeah, or just put them in the Ziploc bag and take them home and scrub them or whatever.
Right.
You know? Just shit like that I think, you know, really need it. Do I need all this crap, you know, like little disposable inks that are only this big and like all this stuff that just puts more money in the supply company's pocket.
Right.
Know, like,
it's just part of, yeah, I mean, I think the I don't know, it's almost like tattooing is trying to be Walmarted by all these people and their giant supply companies, and they're trying to, and none of them are fucking tattooers, which is the incredible part. Not one of them is a tattooer. Huck Spalding used to be a tattooer. He hasn't tattooed in a million years, but he's the only fucking one, man. Mm-hmm. I mean, Philadelphia Eddie doesn't own a supply company anymore, so nobody else is a fucking tattooer that owns one.
Yeah.
And so none of the money is staying in tattooing. It's all these people on the outside cusp of tattooing that are making money on it. Yeah. And it's all the people on the outside of tattooing that are making money on it. Yeah, it's not like, it's like the people on Miami Ink, yeah, those dudes made some money, but the people that really made the fucking money are the fucking producers of that show.
Yeah,
like, they didn't make shit. Like, you know, they're like, oh, we're going to help tattooing. You're not helping fucking tattooing. You're going to have somebody tell me why they're getting their tattoo when they never did before. Like, now I'm going to become a therapist. But... that's what, you know, like, I think that's, I'm really curious what people's take on is the evolution of tattooing. Because I always say that I got into this job, I thought I was attracted to this job because it was a pirate's life. I didn't want to be like them. I didn't want to be like anybody else. I didn't want to be like all the fuckers in khakis and shit like that. That wasn't what I wanted to be. I wanted the pirate's life. And I think the one thing I've hated most out of all of this, and this is just my own little part of your interview, but is that all of these people got involved in tattooing, made themselves an outcast, and then tried to get everybody to accept them.
What do you mean?
Like
who?
Like, okay, so pierce my face all up, and they'd be like, why are you staring at me?
Oh,
like,
right.
Because you turned yourself into a human fucking lure. You know what I mean? You're covered in shiny shit. Yeah. Like, what do you mean? Of course they're looking at you, you know? Like, so that sort of thing. Like, I tattooed myself all up to my ears. I got a turtleneck, and people treat me differently. Well, yeah, man. You have a turtleneck tattooed on your fucking body. You know, like, of course. Like, what do you expect, you know? Whereas I thought that's the life I wanted. I wanted to be separate from those people. And now all of those people in the grocery store want to talk to me about, like, oh, dude, oh, man, your tats, bro. Like, now we have some connection with a complete stranger I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I think that, like, I mean, there's a couple different things about that. Like, I think sometimes, like, other tattooers see me in this, like, you know, I don't have a lot of, like, hand tattoos, like, neck tattoos and stuff. And like, what's up? Like, aren't you going to tattoo your hands and all that stuff? And, like, you know, because now, like, people, all these kids, you know, if you're, like, over 22 and your hands aren't all tattooed up, like, you're fucking not cool anymore. And it's kind of like, when I got into it, like, none of the guys, or the old guys that I was around, had hand and neck tattoos. Like Ray and Bob, like Charlie. Like, Charlie had the, like, Thailand tattoos, but, like, you know, kind of like nobody had that. And it's not that I don't want that stuff. I'm just, like, not in a rush to, like, be that dude at the bar that's got, like, every fucking knuckle tattooed up and, like, everything up to, like, here, and then I'm just standing around with my beer with all the other guys that look just like me. You know, like, to me, like, tattooing is kind of just, like, being myself.
Right.
And, like, this is me. Like, I like it if I put on, like, my jacket or whatever, this is the only one that shows, you know what I mean? Like, maybe that's the only tattoo I have. Like, and I always kind of thought that's what it's about. It's about being yourself, whatever that is.
Right.
You know, whether it's, like, being the crazy pirate or being, you know, whatever. But I think that, like, to me, the thing that tattooers have to be careful about is, and you're right, it's that, like, you know, you're letting these people come in and, like, bend you over. I mean, it's like the Ed Hardy thing, you know what I mean? Like, there's really no reason you couldn't have made all that clothing yourself. And whether you want to do that or not is a different question, but it's like, you know, here's a guy that paid you $1 million to make $100 million.
Right.
You know, it's like Miami Ink. They paid you $40,000 so they can go make $400,000 a season each. And it's like they're laughing at us, you know? And I think, you know, tattooers, no, I don't really think tattooers aren't getting rich off of tattooing. You know, pretty much it's still like a middle class at best amount of income, you know. I really don't think there's anybody out there making just tattoos every day. You know, probably the most anybody's making is like $500,000. I would think that probably not even that. You know, like the most expensive tattooers out there. You know, we make less than a doctor makes. We make less than a lawyer makes. You know, and it's like. And I think that, so when someone comes to a tattoo artist today and says, hey, want $5,000? We're like, fuck yeah, you know, where do I sign up? You know? And it's like, I just think you have to be a little more careful than that. Like, everybody has to be a little more careful. Like, someone approached me about doing, like, the Camel cigarette thing. And my dad had throat cancer. And I was kind of thinking about it at the time, about doing it or not, because it was like, you know, it was like that was like $6,000 or something, you know, like. But one of my friends, Marco, actually was like, dude, I'll pay you $6,000 not to do it. He's like, you should not design shit for cigarettes, like, after what happened to your dad, you know what I mean? Like, don't do that, you know, like, don't sell yourself to the fucking tobacco company, you know? And he's right. It's like, you know, if we don't want all these assholes to buy it, we shouldn't sell it.
Exactly.
You know, if you don't want to be on TV, I mean, yeah, there's always going to be the next dildo that signs up to be the tattoo artist on TV, but it doesn't have to be you.
Right.
You know?
Exactly.
Yeah, and I think that like it's really interesting too now. Like, I remember when I started working at Spotlight, like when I wanted to buy my first machine that wasn't like from a supply company.
Right.
The only person I knew you could buy a machine from that was in Los Angeles was either Danny or Catfish Carl. And I didn't want to Jim Danny, and Danny was in jail. So, and his brother was selling stuff. I think really Rob didn't even have machines. He just had like tubes and stuff. So the only other person I knew I could buy a machine from was Juan. And that's how I met Juan. I bought the old brass, like the alloy one, like in like 2000 or something like that.
Right, the silicon bronze one?
Yeah. And
the cast one, yeah.
He was like coming down to LA, and he brought it to Spotlight and gave it to me. And like, or you know, like everybody was using these bulldogs by like the Safari brothers, like they were on the East Coast. And it was just, it seems so different. Now like I walk into tattoo shops and people don't, you know my name or anything like that, and they're like, we make machines, like want to use machines? Like, all those guys over at Spotlight Tattoo are using my machines, you know, like,
right.
And I'm like, wow, cool, dude. Like, you know,
right, they're selling machines to you as you walk in the door, not tattoos.
Yeah, you know, like I heard yesterday on the radio this commercial that's like, the stuffed pipe. We've got a full selection of pipes and water pipes, and they said tattoo guns, inks, and needles for the most discriminating professionals. Like, come on down, like, you know, and it's like
On
that
the
shit
radio.
too. Like, you know, everybody wants to build machines. Everybody wants to do Japanese tattoos. Everybody wants to fucking do all this stuff, and you know, everyone. That's the other thing now too. That I think there's the funny evolution. Now everybody wants to be, you know, an artiste. You know, like I wanted to be a tattoo artist, so I didn't have to try to be a fine artist.
Right.
You know what I mean?
No, yeah, for sure. I totally know what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah, like I kind of thought about doing the fine art thing, and I really saw it wasn't for me, and I was like, there's no way I can do this. I was like, you know what? Like everybody can afford a tattoo. Like, you know, I'd worked for these fine artists that sell their paintings for all this money, and it's like, well, do you hang out with the people that buy your paintings? Like, no, you know, that's all like weird doctors and lawyers and shit from New Jersey. You know, like I don't want to hang out with them. Like, no, really, that's what these guys said. You know,
Right.
And I was like, you know, if you do tattoos, you know what I mean? Like those people that are getting them are probably cool. You know, like.
Right. That's awesome. No, when I started tattooing, I thought, oh, I'll tattoo and I'll work my way through art school because I decided I wanted to go to art school. And I did my first tattoo and I was like, I'm not going to fucking art school.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck do I need to go to art school for?
Yeah.
What am I going to do? Bob Ross? I'm going to do oil paintings? This
Yeah.
is what, this is it. This is what,
Yeah.
And I was doing bulldog heads on dudes, on GIs and shit like that. I was like,
Awesome.
this is what I want to do. Tasmanian devils with fucking camouflage pants on
Yeah.
and a machine gun. That's what I'm fucking.
Yeah.
That's what I'm here to do, man.
Yeah.
It was fucking great.
Yeah, and it's funny, you know, I love these guys that I feel, I mean, not a lot of people, but I feel like there are people that want to sort of try to, like, better themselves or better tattooing by, like, putting it in this, like, gallery setting. And I think that's, just, I mean, it's not for me, you know, at all.
No.
Like, I think that, like, for me, the tattoos belong in the tattoo shop. And, like, I don't really see, I don't want to legitimize it. I don't want to put it in a gallery. It's not high art, you know. It's just tattoos. And that's awesome. Tattooer is all I want to be. You know what I mean? I just want to be like the best tattooer I can be. I have no interest in being like an artist or like,
Not world renowned.
not that it isn't an artistic endeavor, but that, you know, to me the tattoos are the magical thing. You know what I mean? I don't care that all the tattoos I do are going to die. That's part of the magic. You know, I can put a piece of flash on the wall. I can stand here and look at it all day long. But like the really cool tattoo you got on your leg, I can't see it all the time. You know, or like Cody's back piece, like, you know,
Right.
I want to see it, but I kind of can't see it. You know what I
Right.
mean? He gets kind
You
of
gotta
grumpy.
ask him, and he's like,
Yeah,
"Oh,
and it's
fuck."
like, you know, but that's the fun of it. You know, it's like that's the magic of it. It moves, it's alive, and you only get to see it for a second. Like,
Right.
it's so much more fun than like static art. You know?
Right. What is the person's personality? Right? That's
Yeah.
what it is. It becomes the wallpaper for everybody.
Yeah, and it's cool. It's like, you know, you don't get to see that stuff. You know, I mean, like we were saying, you don't get to see Horitomo tattoos or like ones that are, you know, I know they're out there.
Right.
You know, and it's like, I know they're awesome, but like, you know, that's magic. Like I can see his flashes that he just made or whatever. I can buy his prints
Yeah.
look at them all day, but like, you know, the tattoos.
Hey, tattoo's 40 miles from here, and I think I've seen 3 tattoos.
Yeah.
2 of which are, one is on Henning, one is on Mike Rubendahl, and the other one is on a dude that's like a collector guy that runs around.
Right.
But that's it. Those are the only people I've ever seen with like a Horitomo tattoo. He's like the mystery man, you know.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah, and he's, you know, it's like one of the best tattooers in the world. And it's like, that's the fun of it, you know what I mean? Is to, that's, you know, there's real magic in that. And then all that shit is going to be gone one day, you know what I mean? That's what's kind of awesome. It's like, it's a real reflection of like human condition. You know? So in that way, like that magic will never die, you know what I mean? I think like
No,
that.
I think, yeah, the regeneration of the non-permanence.
Yeah. I kind of hope, like, at first when tattooing was on TV and all that shit, I was kind of like, oh, there's going to be this horrible backlash where, like, everybody's going to hate us and all this. And tattoos will be, like, the most uncool thing
Right.
ever. But I kind of hope that happens, you know what I mean? Like, I'm totally ready to, like, separate the wheat from the chaff again. And not that I'm some kind of OG, but, like, really see, like, who sticks it out.
Right.
When, like,
For sure.
People are always like, is Jacob going to, you know, what are you going to do when Jacob wants a tattoo? And I'm like, dude, by the time Jacob's 18, he's literally going to be looking at us like we're fucking idiots. Like, can you believe our parents all those stupid tattoos? Like, they're not going to get any fucking tattoos, you know?
Totally, he's going to become a minister or something.
Yeah.
Awesome. Something
Yeah.
totally different. Like
Yeah.
some.
Yeah, I don't want to be just like me, you know?
Yeah,
Let him
right.
do his own thing. And, like, that's... I kind of hope that happens so that, like, it'll just be the people that care about it again.
The pure of heart.
Yeah, or like, you know, there's that guy that I tattooed that you did all, like the guy with the to-do list, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like nowadays, it's like tattoo shops are so full of like cool people that you get these like the real weirdos, you know? And like when they come in, everyone's like, God, that dude's so weird. Like Adam's always like, Brian, your customers are so weird because like I have this one dude that's like, we call him, he's like a dominatrix's slave and all this, and he's like, you know,
Right.
Adam's like, all your customers are these weirdos. But like, I was like, yeah, that's
what it was.
Yeah.
That's what it always was.
Yeah, exactly. Like those are the, you know, I think like 30 years ago, you just had like the bikers, the military guys, and then those people that are between the cracks, like, the real weirdos.
Right.
Like probably all the people that all that Hardy shit is on. You know, like,
Right, for sure.
Like the total
for sure.
freaks. That
All
were
the
like,
people have the Cliff Raven body suits and all that shit.
Yeah.
Of course they are. Yeah,
Yeah.
of course.
that nobody ever saw, and they were just like, God, you know, I want to go get this.
Right, it was the
tattoos,
tribe
you know?
that fit, that where the people
Yeah.
fit in the tribe. It was like early punk rock, where all the fucking outcasts fit into early punk rock and stuff like that. And that's
Yeah.
tattooing. Now it's weird suburban,
Yeah.
homogenized soccer moms getting the Om tattooed on them because they did 5 yoga classes and they're fucking multi-culti now or something, you know?
Yeah.
Or a paragraph on their ribs or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dear God.
Like squibs going up the ribs sideways. Like,
That's good. Is there anything else you want to finish off with, or thanks to anybody, or any shout out? You want to do your hip hop shout out?
yeah. No, I just say thanks to all my customers that got tattooed from me, and like thanks to my mom, my son, my girlfriend. Thanks to all the people that have helped me out over the years. Everybody like that I ever worked with and worked for. Like it's been awesome. I feel like I've been really lucky and have gotten to be around like the best tattooers in the world. Like I don't really know how that happened, but I remember Bill Salmon said to me when the last time I saw him, he was like, you know, like when I first got into this, it's like I was like, I can't believe like all these cool people are letting me hang out with them, you know. Like, that's still how I feel, you know. Like,
Right, for sure.
That's like so. Thanks to all the cool people that let me hang out.
Well, thanks for doing this, man.
Yeah, sure.